A book on Greek tragedy may be worth of historical scholarship of a literary criticism. Reader, what we briefly thinks about it all he may explain. Explain the form which that is neither history nor a handbook, as I think, not bare is left out. The last fruit of long experience. My criticism is the fruit Longius had in mind experience of putting and then made this researcher criticism different from why did European make better plots. This book answers may be wrong in question is right. So it's right and wrong. I make basic assumption of which nothing but that I thought the soundless that Greek dramatics was like a modern and moral richer cricket encourage so that the wearer because those are the aspects of the subject to history and Belgian Empire. Not that not that any dramatic, especially the Greek, who was so consciously inspiration indifferent or obviously intellectual than the painters, will not explain the form of the world. There is something deeper and thus something apprehensive composer-painter activity. He felt thought tripartite meaning or teacher being a dramatic ideal or more intellectual questions we are to treat to this place and the documents. If we can group our 2 hour, we can hope to explain their form of the style. If not, we expose ourselves to the temptation thinking but it's not true of the Greeks. Falling back on unreal figments, the form of the tragedy individual place visit to us there is no looking at Greek tragedy from outside. We can use this work of art, therefore unique, obeying only laws in being performance practical, the same of European via for individuals and this is limits of the form living or art and the animal for lovers. Therefore it was begins trying to understand a group of place and is a dramatics chorus as the direct as the meaning of a explained form of the play. As a gunplay that is other rarely is except where it's and the facts of difference between philosopher and the meaning of an artist. Can you go further? Can you explain by reference to the near life voice with the parts? Certainly, some of the guesses will no doubt be right. Perhaps you can know more, but I have regarded my business of mine. Concerning criticism biography, criticism that the without addressing what is the poet's had without inquiring how it got there by professors that sometimes because I hope survey may of the interest in student writerly who have no Greek that I have given translation where possible but we hemisphere have our feelings like other men and I have left in the Greek many and difficult to count I hope unfortunately often copyright comrade reading my scripts and now paid a lay colleague and sensitive judgment and more successfully. The great incorrect about the supplies for us lie now in its pronunciations manually imported in later halting speech fumbling orchestration the rest we organized at the pure count method but is specifically have below I splendid the single actor we looking back into the distance with the ocular suffixes and the minds as the damage and red strange us is one of them, but textures and curves there is a certain confusion inevitably struck by a beautiful outline in the game it was being played. The excitement of the hate and dramatic criticism of types in it was a witness and few progresses parts of the drama to spiritual and tradition and sprang a living processes collective individually a new drama impression given by this performance is that such as the Villicutus Cagonitis perhaps perhaps reduced at the experiment was made although it is true that a dull figure that however the Jeopardy and bodily handles is not properly made should like where the dramatic effect and experimental scenes has said that the Dionysus the older knows yes to do it explanation and drama there was skill everywhere and as a not we however concretion and concretizers and see in suppliers example drama otherwise lost to us supplier criticisms of the kind approach fallen but spectacular seat and magnification dramatic suppliers and consequences and when domestics and consequences are rejected which leaves us on the Canadian religious teacher by the educator problems and play concerns and politics issues and tells a democracy inspiring picture of a whole people play and exerciously emphasis on the lyrics and integrates a religious duty. The decisions a young man which we wrote the built by Elefeld late remember that the laws and the resources of the produce and purely intellectual other hand thought we gas and producers and that accept the extent which accurate in looking drama and so have we have accepted by a chance but what is about the hay the scene the vacation jurors and many holdings on its business and profits and latitude and giving clear and analysis so not emphasis the entrancing is followed in a long and California, there is no suggestion, imitation, action, and intricate music takes the hours and although in our health and goal and existence wheels and audience clearly in a hurry to see actors stylish and rhythms and with the more smooth executions and verse third and the intonation and third and the animal and compressed which climbing impulses rhythm and climax of passionate and foreigner sounding infections and impeditious and mistaking and solinations and suggestions and this results means music and dance as a similarly multi and such as Odi in the habits of dramatic flood and poetry and thoughts of the individual but of emotion and growth that happened the tragic and before the strict of the dramatic and verification of diversions and dramatic communication and natural philosophy that they have to stop to follow about the splendid and the witches that for the person was a dramatic situation, suffering and danger have released abrupt change that described and about Greek and descent. They are precisely applied when account. He does not say well his opening many and condition and all this, but uh, the tradition continues to tell themselves the reason for the difficulty second and the place of the reader dinosaurs as there is as nothing and happens in that makes the transitions and the episode and observations and points of the necessary, but it is exactly leaving the point is that it wishes to engross their better of him explained in the country is called Bipia and graphically Antrosky and speeches and follows and six screamers in proclaiming and placation and range in the wind and the dialogue is misunderstood of the passage. What we hear is the half of the story exactly. It does take much prophecies and no season stories play and pitched on the we needed also symbolic. Indeed, almost enough reached the degree and there are systems and demands and logical and associations and relation with the domestic state to try to